passions, if you will. But I was quite naive, and I saw other bass players out there with really cool guitars and, gizmos and gadgets, and I thought that was what made a guitar player stand out and I guess good from the rest, is that they had these expensive things and gear. In hindsight, well, I couldn't be more wrong, and it's funny because I actually bought my first ever purchase was a guitar. It wasn't even a bass. It wasn't even a bass. It was a guitar. I don't know why. I guess at the time I wanted to show off to my friends and play guitar for them, and that I don't know. I bought a guitar even though I wanted to play the bass. And for some further context, around that time I got my first job, so I was making my own money. And I mean, I'm sure you all know how it feels like to get that first paycheck. You just want to blow it on anything and everything. You feel kind of empowered by it because your work has finally led to monetary value, I guess. So yeah, I saved up a couple paychecks and that guitar. And for any of you guitar heads out there, it was a Les Paul. It was a Gibson Les Paul, not even an Epiphone. A Gibson. And for those of you who may not really know what I'm talking about, basically Gibson is a guitar brand, and they make really expensive guitars, but they also have a budget line called Epiphone, and they produce pretty much Gibson guitars, but with less quality materials, and that allows them to lower the price. So I didn't even want to buy the Epiphone, even though in hindsight it was probably a more sensible purchase, but I decided to go for the Gibson again because I just wanted to, I guess, look impressive, look like I had money, and look successful. And at the time it was a really dumb purchase. I had just barely convinced my mom to allow me to buy it, even though it was with my own money. She very much was against it, but I guess she took a little bit of faith in me in thinking that maybe I would actually have made a sensible purchase with that. But she was right. It really was not a good purchase. I mean, for goodness sake, I was a bass player. I wasn't even a guitar player. Those two things might sound, I mean, they are both guitars, and they might sound similar, but they are played in very different ways, and it's, oh my goodness, I'm just cringing thinking of myself. But hey, that was like 15-year-old me, what can I say? So I come home with the $2,000 guitar, and I'm just, I guess, so happy in the moment. But as soon as I take it out and then start really playing it at home, I start to realize something. I had made a massive oversight, and you're probably wondering what that oversight was. Well, first of all, there's a lot of oversights that I have made with that purchase, but the biggest one that I did not consider was the fact that it was so uncomfortable to play. Like, sorry, let me just nerd out a little bit. Sorry for all of you non-guitar heads out there, but there's this thing called a cutaway on a guitar, where it pretty much saves your stomach from absolute torture, if you will, if the guitar doesn't have a cutaway. I mean, some guitarists actually like it, but for me, I value comfort when playing, and more sensible for me to buy something cheaper and then learn on that. So a week later, after I buy the guitar, right, I'm such in regret, and I just feel like I wasn't even playing it anymore after a week. And so I decided to bite the bullet, and well, okay, first let me just back up for a second. I was really lucky in a sense with that purchase, because the place that I bought it from, they actually offer a 1 month, no questions asked, full refund if you decide to return whatever item it was. However, I don't know if what the price range for that was, because obviously you wouldn't just buy like a $10,000 item and then return it. It's like, I mean, even though you technically could, it really just doesn't make sense, because for someone to pay $10,000 for an item would have to really know something about it, right? Well, for me, even though it wasn't $10,000, it was $2,000, but still, that's a lot of money for a teenager to spend on this guitar. And it was just a really dumb thing to do, but nevertheless, I decided to try my hand. And well, first I told my mom actually that I did not like the guitar and I wanted to return it, and she kind of hit me with that look like, I told you so. And it was much deserved, because I was just a naive teenager back then. I didn't really know what I was doing. So I went back to the place. I went back to the guitar shop, and I just sheepishly brought in my $2,000 guitar and asked if I could return it. And I will never forget what the guitar salesman, or whatever you want to call them, the specialist there, had to say. Well, first they were shocked that I had even decided to buy such a guitar without really knowing much about guitar. So he told me, buying this Les Paul and not really even knowing about guitars or how to play guitar well, that's kind of like buying a Lamborghini and not knowing how to drive. And in many ways he was right. I mean, I didn't know how to really play guitar. I just bought this really expensive guitar. And for what? I mean, I didn't really even think I was gonna get that far in guitar. What I really wanted was to play bass. It really does not make sense to me, and I guess take it also probably as a lesson for me to just be more sensible with my money, I guess. So, but that's not the whole story. I don't think that's really the whole reason I wanted to tell you this was just to kind of showcase my misfortunes per se, but I believe there's a bigger moral to this story. So that was my first taste of actually purchasing something big, right? Well, fast forward maybe a couple or so months, and I decided that I wanted to invest in a bass that would carry me throughout probably my whole career, ideally until my last breath, which sounds kind of overly poetic, but past me was just really such an overthinker when it came to purchasing guitars. I wanted to make sure that it was perfect. Well, there is no such thing as perfect. What was that? There was some random sound that came from somewhere. I don't know where it came from, but anyways, so for some more context again, I actually wanted this one bass. I remember seeing it on a YouTube video. This class American 5-string Mocha Burst. That was the finish. Mocha Burst. It was just so beautiful. It was so unique. I really wanted that guitar. I really wanted it. And I still want it. Like, how long ago was that? 9, 10, 11, 12. So, 6 years ago, I set my sight on. Or 6? No, wait, that doesn't make sense. 9, 10. Yeah, maybe 4 to 5 years, I would say. I've wanted that guitar, and I still want it now. So, however, the problem with that guitar is it's almost like a limited edition finish, limited edition, like spec, if you will. And it is like really expensive, so expensive. Like, I think brand new, it's probably over 3,000 Canadian dollars, which is just quite outrageous, especially of a price back then. I mean, like, 15-year-old me couldn't even fathom that kind of money, even though I just spent $2,000 on that guitar. It was just, after learning my lesson, I realized that that's really a lot of money. And so, I guess I went looking on the website on the guitar store, right? I wanted to find some bass that was similar to that but cheaper, and I guess something that would satiate that desire to purchase a guitar. However, little did I know that, at least for me, I feel like it's quite hard to find an alternative to something that I really want, unless I actually get the thing that I want, right? And I guess that's really where patience comes in, because you can spend all day looking for an alternative, especially when it comes to things like these, like guitars. You can even look at fakes or anything like that, but it just does not hit the spot for me unless I get the actual thing. So, after saving up some money, I actually stumbled on this really amazing 5-string bass guitar, and it was all the way in a different province here in Canada, but I saw it on the website. And a little story about that bass guitar: the woman that played that other Mocha bass guitar that I really like the bass guitar that I really ultimately want to buy, she also has this other 5-string bass guitar, which is this one that I'm looking at the website back all those days ago. And I remember thinking, this looks like the perfect alternative, because the person that played the Mocha bass guitar also plays this guitar. So if she plays this guitar, it must be a good guitar, right? Well, I spent so much time justifying the purchase, and truthfully, I actually don't totally regret buying this bass guitar, because it's actually not a bad bass. However, it definitely did not give me the satisfaction of if I had actually purchased that Mocha bass guitar. Again, my patience was thin. It was failing me almost, and I really don't think that's a good trap for anyone to fall into. So, and the clerks there at the guitar place, they were really kind, and they actually assisted me along the way to actually get this bass guitar shipped to my location. Something like that is quite tedious and requires a truck to move, especially across long distance. So I'm very grateful to them so this bass guitar is this really gorgeous dark blue and really cream, I guess, pickguard. It has a nice color combo. It wasn't the mocha bass, but it was still a really beautiful bass, and I still have it to this day. So on one hand, it was not really the worst purchase I could have made. However, it was still a lot of money, and it wasn't really the guitar that I wanted, if you know what I mean. This bass guitar it was used. It was heavily discounted at the time. That was also a really big reason why I wanted to get this bass. It was just so discounted, and it was the bass that woman that I guess you could say I look up to her, because I mean she has all the basses that I want. And when I took it home, and I had just spent a lot of money on this again. Like I had bought that $2,000 guitar, and I decided to return it. Now I bought this almost $2,000 guitar. It's almost $2,000. Maybe I would say I spent $1,700, almost close to $1,800 on this guitar. So similar price range. So obviously I had some, I guess, PTSD, if you will. Like I just remember spending a lot of money on this piece of gear, and I guess I just had that sinking feeling again. Like I would just ask myself, did I make the right choice? Was this a sensible decision? You could argue both sides of the coin, I think. Like on one hand, I mean, I don't need a guitar that was worth that much. I could have saved that money again, right? To either buy the actual bass that I wanted, or I guess save it for a better value purchase in the future. Either way, I knew that I had spent a surplus, I don't know if that's the right word, but I guess an excess amount of money on this bass guitar. But there's also some good in it, I would say. Well, first of all, I made a huge improvement when it came to my decision making in buying the bass. I had thoroughly researched it. I had researched reviews and really made sure that this was, in my mind, at least at the time, a sensible purchase. And it seemed like back in the day I actually was really willing to go the lengths for this guitar. It had all the specs that I think that at the time I really wanted. It was a 5-string, and anyways, I won't really bore you with the details, but I ended up purchasing it, and until this day I still have it. But there definitely was some, I guess you could say, bumps in the road with this bass. First of all, I knew it wasn't really the bass that I wanted, so in ways I kind of kept it as and I looked at it as some sort of like filler bass guitar, if you will, like a filler item, until I finally got the thing that I wanted. And I mean, dang, it's a very expensive filler, if you will. But yeah, it's just a lot of money back in the day that I didn't have the patience to save it. I just wanted to spend it. And I guess that is the second part to the story that I want to tell you guys. There's one more piece to this story, but I just need you guys to understand that if there are some of you maybe at the age that I was at, maybe 15, 16, if you're watching this video and you might be working for the first time, or you might have money that you want to spend, I would really suggest to research and figure out if your money will be well spent buying whatever item you have in mind, especially if it's expensive, like more than $1,000 or even hundreds of dollars. That kind of money is not something that should just be thrown away or discarded just like that. I was really dumb, to be honest, spending that kind of money and not really researching about what I was gonna get. I didn't spend time to actually see where my money was gonna go. At least for the first guitar. I feel like the second guitar that I bought was a better, sensible purchase. But regardless, yeah, that's just what I wanted to say. So I also wanted to share with you something that a good friend of mine had told me before, that at the time I didn't really think much of it, but I now realize that he had wisdom that I just I could not fathom it at the time. It sounds simple, but what he told me was, well, okay, first I think I need to tell you the context to which he told me. So I remember I ended up telling him that I had returned that first Gibson guitar. He was shocked because I guess he thought I was gonna keep that guitar for a while, and so I had explained to him that there was this small discount on the guitar that's how I justified buying the guitar. So he told me that just because it's on sale doesn't mean that you should necessarily buy it. There will always be more sales in the future. You just have to wait. And at the time, it was like a simple saying. It didn't really mean much to me, but what he really was trying to tell me was to have patience. That word patience that I never really truly understood. And really having patience is really such a virtue in this world driven by marketing and just wanting to have the best thing now. Sometimes it's not really about that. And so this finally brings us to the last part of the story that I want to tell you guys, because this story actually has kind of a good ending, if you will. So after the purchase of that bass guitar, the one that I told you guys about, the dark blue with the cream pickup, sorry, not pickup, the pick guard, I'll just call it the midnight bass just for easier reference. The midnight bass, after I had bought it, I continued saving up my money, and there was actually one bass. I'll call it this type of bass because there's a lot of versions of this bass. And for the guitar heads out there, again, it's called a P bass, short for precision bass. And all you need to know is that this bass suited all the kinds of music that I wanted to play. It looked really cool to me, and I wanted to have this kind of bass, even if it was a cheap one and an expensive one. It doesn't matter to me. I just wanted that kind of bass. But at that time that I wanted it, probably like 3 or 4 years ago, I had learned my lesson to, I guess, hold out and wait for a good enough reason or a good enough sale I was just like captured by it immediately. It didn't look really that amazing. It wasn't really the style that I wanted, but the fact that it was a P bass and kind of something that I've been looking for so long, I naturally just wanted to look at it and go try it. And so, for I guess more reference, this bass guitar typically retails at the time of recording for about $1,200 before tax. I mean, again, that's a lot of money. And unfortunately, with these kind of guitars, they don't really come around often at a good price. So I'm just trying to wait for a really good deal, right? Well, I had found one finally, and I look at the price tag. It was really high. It was in a high position up in the wall, so I couldn't really see it clearly. I thought initially it said $999, and I mean, don't get me wrong, that's a good deal, but I mean, I didn't really know if I had the money to spend that much, and I thought that I could find a better deal. But when I took it down, I was surprised to see that the price was actually $699. And a little funny thing about me is whenever I buy something on sale like that, I like to calculate the savings percentage. I don't know, it's just something weird I do. And so I calculated it, and it was a whopping 41, almost 42% discount. And to put that into perspective, typically, if that bass had been $999, right, that is already considered a good deal for that kind of instrument. That is a really good deal. However, this was more than that, I think it's like $500 off, right? It's a crazy good deal. Actually, it was such a good deal that I was suspicious almost, because surely something cannot be this discounted without something being wrong with it, right? So I take it down, I play it, and I was amazed because it was everything that I kind of wanted it to be. Sure, it didn't really look exactly how I wanted it to look, but it didn't matter. Again, I think that's also a good point to make. All of the guitars I purchased, I really focused on the look of it, like the aesthetics of it, and of course aesthetics matter in my opinion, but this bass guitar, I mean, it just felt right, it sounded right in my hands, and I just knew it. I just had to get it, right? But as a extra step of caution, I decided to rent it and fiddle around with the inner workings of it. Of course, I didn't really take it apart, but I just wanted to make sure that all of the things were working, just so I don't waste my money again. And all of these precautions, all of these things that I was taking, all of these extra steps and extra measures, they are all thanks to the experiences that I've had in the past. I feel like I've learned a lot in spending my money and making sure I get something that is worth it in my personal life, right? So, long story short, I eventually figured out that there's nothing really that wrong with it. It was like new. It was just, you wouldn't believe the kind of satisfaction that I felt. I had finally found something. I had waited for something, and I didn't even know I was waiting for it. Like, it was just sheer faith and patience that something like this would come in my life, and it finally did. And that was probably the easiest guitar purchase I have ever made in my life thus far. It was just here just across from me. I'm looking at it right now, and it means more to me than just a guitar. It kind of symbolizes the patience that I had to exhibit to finally purchase something like this. Because had I initially pulled the gun and probably bought this kind of guitar brand new without waiting for a sale, without waiting for any real reason to buy it, had I spent that $1,200, I'd probably be looking at that bass and saying, "Oh darn, I should have waited. I should have waited." Well, guess what? I did wait. I waited, and I finally have it. So I guess the reason I want to tell you this story, this almost like, yeah, this story of mine, is because I'm sure a lot of you all probably have had an experience similar to this. You've wanted something, and maybe you ended up buying it, right? And you might have regretted it. Or maybe you waited and you eventually figure out you don't even want the thing, whatever it might be. There's always gonna be something like that in our lives. Something that tempts us to discard our patience and just go all in. Well, I guess I just want to tell you this story to kind of show you guys that patience really is a virtue, and I really hope that you guys could all take something from this story of mine. And if you enjoyed, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a like and subscribe, because it really helps out the channel. And before I end the video, I want to express that I also want to know about your experiences as well. Leave it down in the comments. Is there something that you maybe really want to get? Or maybe you want to get it right now, but you're holding off on it. What's the reason behind holding off on it? Or maybe you're really tempted and you really want to purchase it right now. Well, let me know in the comments and let's start a discussion. So, anyways, that was a really long story, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it as much as I did telling it. And I guess that's it for me, and I'll see you